It's been all quiet on the Battlefield front in terms of updates for a little while, but today, that's all changed with the release of Battlefield 2042 Season 4 11th Hour. Now we've got a lot of new changes to go over and new additions to go over in today's video, some of which you probably don't know about and some of which you definitely do know about, so let's get straight into it. First of all, let's talk about the big stuff and the stuff that I've experienced first and foremost, and with that let's start with Flashpoint. Flashpoint is the only real part of the new update that I've experienced properly at the time of recording this video because I've only had a couple of hours to play around with the new season and really explore the map. And if you didn't know, Flashpoint was made by Ripple Effect, who did all of the Portal maps, and I think this shows here with the inspirations for the new maps. It's very Battlefield 3-like, and I was scared that it would kind of blend into the same category as Renewal, because their rocky sections are very similar looking, but luckily there's enough diversity and destruction in this map to really set it apart. My favourite part of the map is probably the big missile silo looking hole, as it's just huge and dropping vehicles through that is going to be so much fun, I feel. But yeah, very impressed with the layout. Haven't tried it in Breakthrough yet. I've heard it's a little bit iffy on that. It's a bit one-sided, but for Conquest at least, I'm enjoying it a lot, and I feel like while it is quite small, it's balanced fairly well. And I'm going to be enjoying this one for the weeks to come until Discarded 2.0 comes around. Anyway, let's move swiftly on to some of the stuff that I haven't tried or not really tried too much. First, we have the new specialist and the final specialist ever for the game, Camilla Blasco, with her infiltration device, which basically stops anyone from being spotted or locked onto in the area around it, including vehicles, and the ambush expert trait where she doesn't trigger motion sensors like Claymore's or Casper's motion sensor. This is going to be an interesting one to see how the balancing works itself out for it, because Claymore spam isn't too bad. I think it's just because a lot of people don't use them, but if they do end up becoming a big problem and people realize how powerful they are, you know, we could be seeing a lot more Camilla Blascos around the battlefield. Moving on from that, we have the Brawler. Now this vehicle looks so cool. It's probably my favorite vehicle visually because it harkens back to the Battlefield 3 vehicles that I just love the look of. The engine is so cool back then and the vehicles look so authentic and worn. And I think that this one really encapsulates that feel. The reason I love those Battlefield 3 vehicles, it's embodied in the Brawler, and the fact that you can duck down in the top hatches and then shoot out. Honestly, one of my favorite vehicles, I think, so far. I need to play around with it because I haven't unlocked it yet because it's further along the Battle Pass, but amazing. In terms of weapons, we have the AC-9 SMG, the RM68 Assault Rifle, the RPT-31 LMG, the Super 500, along with the Volt Guns, the SVD, and the Type 88 LMG. So that's 6 new weapons for everyone to use, and I'm really excited to get stuck into these ones, especially reviewing the Volt Guns, which will come out maybe tomorrow, that video, so be on the lookout for that one. But yeah, a lot of new content in terms of these weapons. I think for me, the RM68, Super 500, and AC-9 are the standouts. I've used the SVD quite a bit in Portal, and I really like it, but again, it's nothing new for me. And LMGs aren't really my style, although I do try and tier 1 them. They're not the ones I enjoy the most, so especially that SMG, I think it's going to be really interesting as an alternative to the Vector, but we'll just have to see how that plays out. We also have the SPH Explosive Launcher, which you've probably seen a lot of clips of by now from other content creators. This one is essentially the sticky detonator from Halo 4. You fire it at someone, it takes a second and then it explodes. It can also cause environmental destruction. Its drop off isn't too bad as well, so you can actually hit a few long shots with it, and it's going to be interesting to see a lot of people getting stuck with grenades in the days to come. To wrap up the big changes, we of course have the new Battle Pass. Loads of cosmetics here. I think each season they've ramped up in the quality of them and the art style, and I think this continues that trend. Everything here looks really good. I can't wait to unlock some of it. And the standard skin for Camilla at the end of the Battle Pass, like there's always been a skin for the new specialist, looks great too. Everything looks stellar, and these Battle Passes are always fairly easy to unlock. It's also worth noting that if you have the Year 1 pass from buying the Gold or Deluxe Edition of Battlefield 2042, you won't be getting the Season 5 pass. However, if you save all of your coins from this Battle Pass right now for Season 4, you will be able to buy yourself the Season 5 Battle Pass with those, provided you don't spend any of them. With those big changes out the way, let's get on to the smaller ones. Starting with the end of round sequence being now updated and explaining the process that happens at the end of it. What I mean by this is if you jump into a breakthrough match and get to the end of it, the end of round screen will now tell you that you'll be switching teams and will give you the option to switch between attacker and defender, and will now also ask you to confirm if you want to leave a lobby when you leave the menu. Instead, you just press circle or whatever your corresponding button is, and it would take you straight out of the lobby and back to the main menu, but now it will at least ask if you want to do so a second time. A few smaller issues have been fixed, such as reaching an extraction streak of 3 in Hazard Zone with Zane should unlock his player card but didn't before, but now it does. The visual issue of where vehicles would flicker on the big map when you open it up has been fixed as well. And increasing the size of the minimap in your settings will no longer increase the icon sizes on there. Talking about the minimap as well, there's been an option added to scale the minimap icons depending on the view distance of your map, which is on by default. And a visual issue has been fixed with the ping system where the pings weren't coming up correctly. The control schemes for console have been reset, so everybody's now back onto the new control scheme, so if you have messed with the controls, they will be reset by this update, so bear that in mind. Also, now custom portal experiences that have PvP AI will now have ribbons, mastery up to tier 12, and weekly missions enabled. This is great to see. I wish PvE experiences had this too, but PvP is completely fine. These are the bots that fill up a lobby instead of players, whereas PvE are the AI that fill up a lobby even if players are in there. One issue that there used to be with Breakaway with the rework was that there'd be a hole in the floor that you could fall into and not get out of, but that's been fixed now. The cinematic camera at the start of rounds has been fixed for some certain maps that had some weird glitches going on with it. The consistency of melee takedowns on people who are crouching and standing has been vastly improved as well, and prone behaviour has been improved when on steep slopes. Zipline behaviour has also been improved when a vehicle is parked near the same location as a zipline. It used to be a little finicky before, but now it should be completely smooth. An issue that I've run into a few times when using ladders has now been fixed, and that is when the camera wouldn't let you go anywhere past the middle of your screen so you couldn't look up, and that has been resolved now, which is nice to see because that used to limit you quite a lot when climbing ladders. It didn't happen every time, but it's good to see that's been completely fixed. For those Falk players out there, you might have noticed that explosions used to disrupt your self-heal animation, but now it shouldn't. Liz has received a pretty substantial nerf as her missile now goes 475 meters instead of 600. Its boost speed has been reduced by 40 meters per second, and its turning angles have been tightened so that you can no longer pass by your target and miss them and come back for another run and then hit them again. This will reward players who are more skilled with the rocket, while not rewarding players who don't hit their targets on the first shot, so survivability of vehicles should be a little bit higher now, which is good to see. I actually back this change quite a bit. For people like me who run Assault, you can now carry 2 med pens instead of 1, but you'll still spawn with 1, so if you run over an ammo crate, you'll have 2 in your inventory, but you'll spawn with 1 in there. The Claymore used to have an explosion radius all around it to a certain extent, but now it's just a forward-facing explosion, so it'll just hit the person who triggers it in the front. Speaking of explosives, the AT mine should blend into terrain much better than it used to make it stand out less. Moving on, knives no longer do large damage to light vehicles, they'll just do a little bit now. This is a bit of a funny bug, but it has been fixed now. And lock-on sounds when you're inside a vehicle will no longer play if you're a passenger, only for the pilot. This is going to be quite an interesting change because I see a lot of people bailing when they hear the missile sound and lock on, so it's going to be weird to see people not jumping out when a missile's approaching unless they really notice it, because they won't be hearing that sound anymore. The active protection system on vehicles like tanks will also no longer stay on when that tank is hacked, meaning you can hack that, hit it with a rocket, and that rocket will actually deal damage even if APS was on during the hack. There's been a few improvements to jet aircraft that I'm yet to try out, but apparently the lift and the drag has been improved, so you're going to pull off some better maneuvers with jets. And the 2 jets for either side have been balanced accordingly to fit each other. And finally, to finish off the patch notes, the headshot multipliers for the MTAR-21 and the M416 have been fixed. Now, a few things that you may or may not have noticed that weren't in the patch notes were that the Killfeed has now been shifted to the top right like it was in BF5. We have a new squad screen at the start of the game as well. This is more akin to Hazard Zone. Hazard Zone has this screen and now it's been implemented to All Out Warfare. I love this change, it looks really good, and you can now adjust all of your loadout in this screen. And we now have a faster start of the game flow, which is nice. I no longer have to sit on my phone for 40 seconds after selecting somewhere to spawn, as the insertion flow is far faster. Although every time we have a new season this isn't listed, and isn't technically a change that is that noteworthy, we have new menu music, and I really love seeing what the new menu music is every season. And I really like the one that's in Season 4. It's really foreboding, it's dark, gives off a good tone, and accompanying that we have new end of round music on Flashpoint, which also sounds great. And finally, you'll notice that the menu looks pretty different to how it used to be. Weekly missions and next battle pass rewards are now sitting up there very nicely, and those weekly missions now show their week number and tell you what's up next. It shows the bonus missions as well all the time there, which is awesome to see. Everything looks a lot cleaner now, and even the visuals for getting a weekly mission done have been updated. So there we have it. This season is looking to be pretty stacked in things to do and things to unlock, and let me know if you found any other stealth changes down in the comments below. If you want to come and talk to me or anybody else that does love this game, and come and join us when we do reaction videos to new trailers and news, head over to the Low Salt Discord down below in the description, and make sure to visit the Exodus Archives, a full comprehensive guide of the story of 2042, covering all its maps, battles and characters, because the story is becoming even more integral as we progress through this game's lifecycle. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Consider subscribing for some more Battlefield and VR content, and I hope to see you in the next one.